Welcome to the Badger Den. Who's afraid of the big bad commie up in New York City? Not Mayor Eric Adams. Let's take another look as far as what's happening over the last 24 hours with the commie now running to run the Big Apple. And then see what the Democrats are up to try to figure out a way out of this. Because I called it. This is a schism in the Democratic Party, and they're going to have to make a choice. Either start running toward that AOC Zohan, whatever his name is, Communist Manifesto Utopia, or backtrack and move toward the center, something they haven't done in the last decade. Yeah, about a decade now. So first up, New York Mayor Adams comes out. He sees Zohan. I'm calling him Zohan. Don't care about his name. He's a POS. Was elected. We all know Adams came in 2021. He ran basically to try and be the Democratic candidate, and he won, and he ran on a pro-police platform. He is a former police captain of the NYPD, so he knows the necessity of policing the people and trying to stop the damages that generally get thrown in there with criminality. So if you allow criminals to flourish and you don't punish them, you get what's happening in LA and San Francisco, where you're getting more and more. Because if people see that you can go steal with impunity, they're going to start doing other things. And then when they see that you allow that off, like graping and murdering, whatever you're allowed to say on YouTube without getting censored, it's going to continue, and it will get worse, especially for protecting illegals that are doing it and saying, no, we're not going to turn it over to ICE. In fact, we're going to carve out a little safe space over here for you to continue to destroy people's lives with impunity. It's disgusting. Adams has essentially been thrown out of the Democratic Party because of two critical things. One, he did push for policing New York, and it worked. The other big thing he saw what was happening as New York as a sanctuary city, and since he was just the mayor and was not the city council, he could not push for legislation to stop the sanctuary city policy. However, what he could do is allow the police to work with ICE, and he did, and it got a huge backlash, and they threw a bunch of false allegations on him regarding money laundering and money coming from foreign entities. I think it was even Ukraine, to try and smear this man and destroy him. Realistically, he may have gotten money from Ukraine, but he probably didn't even know a thing about it. It's probably like a few $1,000s for this very purpose, to incriminate him so they could get him out if they needed him out. And in this case, they did, because the Democrats are trying to completely upend the demographics within the United States. And for a black mayor to come out and say, no, this is wrong, allowing illegals to get in the front of the line ahead of everybody else is wrong. They just got here. They didn't do a doggone thing, and giving them all these perks is disgusting. And he knew it. He saw it, and he called them out for it. He fought against the machine. Specifically, he stated, I stood strong and firm against the naysayers. We're going to open our schools and protect our children. He got back there in 2021. I mean, he kind of did that, didn't do great. Crime was moving at a higher rate. It was. Businesses were fleeing the city. They were, and there was a lot of uncertainty. Black and brown unemployment was high. It was high because everybody got knocked off from the pandemic, so he's not being completely generous there. With my leadership, we must forge ahead a pattern and pathway. Now, don't get me wrong. Out of the list of choices there, he's definitely, the best one they've got right now. So this is what happened in 2019 and 2020, and he came in 2021, and he understood that we got to get away from this George Floyd BS mentality and say, hey, we can't canonize a drug-dealing, horrible, despicable person that pointed a gun at a pregnant woman who's abusive. Instead, we actually have to start locking criminals up. We're not going to play this namby-pamby BS. We're actually going to prosecute people. And so he pushed for that, and he won, and he knocked down crime in New York City. I will give him hats off for that, because that's what he knows. Former police captain, he knows about crime. He goes on. This is a city, not a socialism. Don't know what that means. There's no dignity in someone giving you something for free. There's dignity in giving you a job so you can provide for your family. Well said. They're going to see a movement that you will never witness before. I told all of you in the beginning, this is going to be the most interesting political campaign in the history of the city. I didn't stop on June 24th. It started on June 24th. I'm ready to become your mayor for another 4 years. He is right. This is going to be the most interesting and probably pivotal Democratic campaign in the history of New York City. This right here, if Zohan winds up getting in to office, this is going to be absolutely insane. The reason why, again, Mayor Adams is on the outs with the Democratic Party is because he fought against things like this: 90,000 illegals getting $9,000 a month for sheltering in top-notch 4- and 5-star hotels in New York City. I would like $9,000 a month for my mortgage. How about you? No, that went to illegals. You're a citizen. You don't count. Illegals come first. 50 Cent, he saw this, came out and was like, this dude ain't right. 50 Cent saying, where he come from? Who friend this? I ain't feeling this plan, no. I'm giving him $258,750 and a first-class one-way ticket from New York. I'm telling Trump what he said, too. Trump gonna get on this. Man, I'm a big DMX fan, but 50 Cent, you're all right. Billionaire, Bill Ackman. So Billionaire, Bill Ackman, he's a hedge fund. He's an elitist, but he does understand the difference between capitalism and socialism. And when somebody comes after your money pocket and you're one of the richest people in the world, guess what? You tend to take notice. And he put a lot of effort in this post on X. This sums it up very nicely. He goes over what Zohan's going to bring. Yeah, I know that's not his name. I don't care. He's a Zohan. And the damage it's going to do to the Democratic polity. Bill Ackman sees the writing on the wall. What I called out yesterday. This is a huge pivotal moment for the Democratic Party. Bill Ackman's post. Cut it out. It was very long. It was multi-pages. I think I cut out and succincted it as best I could. New York City became what has New York City become? That an avowed socialist who has supported defunding the police, whose solution to lowering food prices is city-owned supermarkets, who doesn't understand that when you freeze rents, you only reduce the supply of housing, who has no experience managing an organization, let alone a city with a $100 billion budget and a $2 trillion economy, and who believes chants for globalizing the intifada are acceptable wins the Democratic primary. That's right. There's not a specific instance where Zohan come out in support of Sharia law, but he won't denounce it either. This, again, the three-step process for Muslims to gain power. The Democratic primary voter is clearly tired of the Democratic politics of the past and its aging over-the-hill leadership. Who isn't? As a case in point, how embarrassing it is to watch aging Dems fall in line with their tweets of support for Zohan as they desperately try to defend their seats from the far left. Again, he's pointing out the Democrats are moving further left, and therefore, without any real competition, Zohan and his attractive personal qualities and campaign skills magically make him the candidate of the future. Boy's slick. He's a slick Willie. The problem, however, is that his policies would be disastrous for New York. Socialism has no place in the economic capital of our country. The ability for New York City to offer services for poor and needy, let alone the average New Yorker, is entirely dependent on New York City being a business-friendly environment and a place where wealthy residents are willing to spend 183 days and assume the associated tax burden. Unfortunately, both have already started making arrangements for the exits. What does he mean by that? If you spend over the majority of the year in New York, you have to pay New York City taxes. These people who are millionaires can easily go to their summer home in Miami and be like, we'll stay in Miami a little bit longer this year and we will pay the tax burden down here in Miami because it's half that in that of New York. And then New York loses out on money. A mayor who disrespects the NYPD has called for their defunding will be less effective policing, and Bratton's broken window theory will operate in reverse. This goes back to my point that if you allow criminality, you don't tamp down on the smaller things and you allow things to perpetrate and continue and propagate and get bigger, guess what's going to happen? You will see more violent offenses, and that's what we're seeing in LA. That's what we're going to see we're seeing it right now in Portland. It is going to happen more and more in these blue sanctuary cities. They're just allowing criminality to flourish. A mayor who condones hate speech will incentivize more hate speech and violence. Words matter, and yes, they can inspire people to kill, as they have recently tragically seen in our own country and around the world. There's no such thing as hate speech, but what he is getting out without pointing out that fallacy is that the Democrat Party has continued to push and allow violent threats against Trump and ICE agents. Trump's been attempted assassination multiple times, and of course, ICE agents are seeing attacks on them go up 500%. They're promoting violence. Democrats have become the party of violence. New York City under Zohan is about to become much more dangerous and economically unviable. Unlike our federal government, New York City cannot just print money, and this federal government won't bail out New York City if things go bad. That is 100% fantastic, because under a Biden regime or a Biden regime, they would bail out New York City. They would take federal dollars and support these left-wing insane policies like giving free health care and free housing to illegals in California and New York. That's insane. You're stealing from me to pay for somebody else who doesn't belong here. And you Democrats cannot defend it. You cannot defend theft to support somebody who got here illegally. You don't have a good excuse for it. In fact, Zohan would be a windfall for the Republican Party as New York becomes another failed major city run by Democrats alongside Seattle, Portland, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, as well as Senator Fetterman so eloquently stated today. I'll describe it as Christmas in July for the GOP. Getting back to where Mayor Adams has galvanized New York and shielded it from the insane policies of these left-wing Democrats that are taking the party down. So why did it become optimistic later this morning? The answer is that New York City has woken up in the last 24 hours. Again, showing that after this, Zohan now is the head of the Democratic ballot. Everybody started searching, what is socialism again? Oh, snap, that ain't right. You're a little late to the party, guys. The substantial majority of New York City residents understand that socialism is a failed system, that rent freezes will destroy housing base and shrink the affordable housing supply while killing new construction, and that an anti-capitalist mayor will destroy jobs, cause business and wealthy taxpayers that have enabled New York City balance the budget to move elsewhere. If 100 or so of the highest taxpayers in my industry chose to spend 183 days elsewhere, it could reduce New York state and city tax revenues by between $5 to $10 billion. Now, this man is a hedge fund manager. He knows math. I don't see why he would be lying in this stance. The reason being, and we'll get into it in a moment, is other billionaires have stated that if Zohan goes in, not only are they closing up shop on their homes, but they're closing up their businesses and leaving. This isn't just about people leaving, not paying taxes relative to property taxes, but this is about people leaving and taking their businesses elsewhere, like Musk did and a lot of the other businesses getting out of California. Again, you can't defend it, lefties. Importantly, there are hundreds of millions of dollars of capital available to back a competitor to Zohan that can be put together overnight so that a great alternative candidate won't spend any time raising funds. He is calling out there saying, hey, we will get you the money. We got to defeat this guy. This guy is nuts. The funds would pour in. I'm sure that Bloomberg would share his how to win the mayoralty IP and deliver his entire election apparatus. So he's insinuating that he has connections with Bloomberg or other people around Bloomberg that would help you build out your campaign strategy. That is a key infrastructure piece to build out your essentially your campaign business to be able to reach out and propagate your message and get it out there. He is not just putting up the front of capital, but he's also putting up the infrastructure that you would need to run. He is looking for somebody that's got the charisma to beat Zohan. The unfortunate fact, as far as I understand, is that the candidate will have to be a write-in. As I believe that none of the current candidates established a nominating committee if they were to withdraw, which means that no one can take their spot on the ballot. That means it has to be a write-in. That's insane. This would be one of the largest write-in campaigns ever. Dude, if you make it, whoever decides to step up and take this task, good luck. You're going to need it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a conservative and I want to see this commie fail, but I do believe that if this commie goes in, New York is going to suffer, and I don't want to see millions of people suffer on a communist regime in New York City. Thank goodness it's just a freaking city. Otherwise, if this was a national candidate, that was a communist and we elected it, it wouldn't be the end of the free world. But we're on that path, people. An opportunity to save the Democratic Party from itself. Again, he sees the branching that is happening right here. It has been building, and now it is happening. The Democratic Party has to make a choice. Do they cut back on their woke leftist ideologue dogma, or do they continue charting this course that they're on toward communist utopia and insanity, grabbing the wheel just before the Democratic Party goes even further off the cliff? Are you going to be able to save it? And there's a defensive reason for a politician run. For the more centrist Democrat politician, Zohan win is very bad for your next election. As the party veers further to the left, the party's backing for your future candidacy deteriorates substantially as Zohan and AOC take control of the party. This goes back to my point, guys. If you still have a soul and you're the Democratic Party, get out. Because even Ackman, a Democrat, sees that the Democratic Party is becoming soulless. They're becoming a demonic, soulless monstrosity. You can't substantiate that and continue to think that people are going to rally around this communist utopia idea. This insane dogma is evil. New York banks, REITs fall as Zohan's mayoral bid stokes rent freeze worries. You're already seeing REITs. These are real estate investment trusts. These are great things of investment. If you want, I'm not an investment, blah, 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 but it is an idea. I would recommend you looking it up. But these things that invest in New York City property values and garner dividends for people who invest in them and growth, they're tanking right now. Not only that, you can start at the breadlines. Billionaire CEO that owns, I believe, called the Red Apple or the Red Apple Group. Anyway, he owns a chain of grocery stores in New York City. He has come out and stated, again, not only if the Zohan gets in, he will remove himself and all of his grocery stores and get out and go to New Jersey. New Jersey might see a spike. Again, New Jersey is not a better place either, as we saw in a previous stream. Oy. So, what can the Democratic Party do? That's right, Democrats, I'm trying to help you here. Here's a ringer. And what I mean by this person is a ringer, this person sees it, and we're going to see why she sees it, because she plainly has a history of knowing the winds of change, and she sees the winds of change, and let's just say that the Democratic Party is the face of the deep state, and so now this deep state ringer is stepping up to try and save the Democratic Party from itself. They want to maintain their power. In order to do that, they got to tack away from this communist utopia. And so this woman is clearly a dead ringer for trying to push the Democratic Party where it needs to go. I don't know how I feel about this, because frankly, I'd rather see the Democratic Party fall apart and the people who are still sane and have a soul form their own party, because what this woman wants to do to save the Democratic Party is purely makeup on a pig. It's not real. It's completely fake. And we're going to look exactly what I mean by that. Senator Slotkin, a Democrat from Michigan, unveiled what she called an economic war plan on June 26, warning that the erosion of the middle class poses a greater threat to the U.S. than any foreign power. The single greatest security threat to the U.S. is not coming from abroad. Slotkin, a former CIA analyst, a.k.a. part of the deep state, she's a plant, said during a speech that the Center for American Progress, it's the shrinking middle class here at home. Who caused that over the prior 4 years? What was that candidate's name? And what party did he come from? Is she nuts? No, she knows. She just refuses to say who did it and who caused all this damage, because she's trying to salvage what grift is left for the Democratic Party. Her remarks came one day after the new Democrat coalition, a caucus in the House of Reps made up of 115 center-left Democrats. So these are supposed moderate Democrats that still, they say they're moderate Democrats, but if you go look at their voting records, they vote with the AOCs. They vote with the Rashida Tlaibs. They vote with the squad. These people are BS. They're makeup on a pig. They're pretending that they're center-left. They are not. They are soulless people who are trying to save the Democrat grift so the deep state can continue on under the guise of the Democratic Party. Don't buy this. Democrats who still have souls, start your own party. Get these commies out. She wants to push tax credits for families and small business. I wonder where they got that idea. Expand housing incentives and changes aimed at reducing the deficit and stabilizing the economy. So, again, under the prior administration, who pumped out twice as much money than all other administrations combined, now wants to balance the budget and stop the deficit. You people smoke crack and think we don't see it. She says Democrats have lost touch with core economic frustrations and must take responsibility for failing to deliver tangible results. You mean causing this mess? I think, let me fix it for you. For causing these results. If we have to slaughter some sacred cows to do it, then so be it. She's criticizing the tendency of Democrats to lump small business with large corps and treat climate action as a purity test rather than the cost of living issue. Don't get me started on climate change. Her proposals include streamlining housing regulations, fine, banning cell phones in K through 12, duh, expanding nuclear energy. Wow, that's a shocker. About time somebody recognizes that from the left, and implementing a nationwide public health insurance option. That's already been done. Obamacare says what? No team in history or on the field or in D.C. ever won a game without going on the offense. Now, that is true, and her handlers in the CIA have recognized that Trump and the Republicans are still not cohesive and are pummeling them left and right, and they have to go on the offensive. They have to create a false front that they are now moderating and moving toward the center. The Democrats are not. The new Democrat coalition's tax plan reflects a similar posture. It promotes expanding the Child Tax Credit and Affordable Care Act. Again, the Child Tax Credit expansion, where'd they get that from? Trump. A lot of these policies they have stolen directly from Trump's agenda. The Affordable Care Act, that should have been flushed down the toilet, proposes an enhanced earned income tax credit for, again, that's not for the middle class, that's for the impoverished, and encourages domestic manufacturing through targeted incentives. Again, picking winners and losers. So essentially what Biden did, where he promoted, what was it, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a makeup on a pig for the Green New Deal again, but just not as bad. Again, it's the same old song and dance with different makeup. The group also emphasized fiscal restraint. Really? Really? Stating that it believes that Trump's proposal would deepen deficits while slashing health and nutrition programs. Weren't you the party of you must vax? Excuse me, weren't you the get vaxxed or get bent party? Oh, makeup on a pig, people. I know you people in the middle and conservative will see this for what it is, a complete grift from the CIA analyst who is a plant from the CIA, but my goodness, this is nuts. They also raised concerns about, so these people, these Republicans that have come out against the Big Beautiful Bill, and I'm not a huge fan of the Big Beautiful Bill, but what these Republicans are claiming is saying concerns about work requirements and rush timelines. These Republicans, who are not Republicans, they are rhinos, are stating that, well, we don't like it if you force people to work in their own welfare. That's not fair. No, if I am paying for you to live, then you should be looking for a job. That should be fair. You cannot subsist on my welfare. That's disgusting. Democrats have lost some of their alpha energy, she continued. Sometimes people are not looking for a 13-page policy treatise on a website. They're looking for you to show some fight. This gets back to the point. Democrats don't argue on policy because they will always lose when it comes to logic. They argue from the heart because people don't listen to their brain. They listen to their emotions because emotions override logic. And she knows it. The deep state knows it. And so she's trying to put makeup on a pig and beat the war drums. This playbook, I'm surprised they hadn't started it sooner, but you will see this as the new modus operandi of the Democratic Party if it survives this schism that is now happening in New York. This is a coordinated effort to reposition the party on economic issues ahead of 2026 midterms. Again, they have to take out the Senate and the House, especially the House. They have to control one of the two in order to stop Trump from upending their evil efforts. And that's the goal of the deep state. We have to put on some makeup on a pig, get out there, stop Trump, and then we can start taking things back over. We need to treat the moment with seriousness it deserves and be relentless in protecting the country we all love. Look at that, folks. They're even trying to wave the flag. Instead of waving a Mexican flag or a rainbow flag, they're actually pretending like they're going to hoist the American flag and wave it around. This sickening grift from the left. I hope you people see it. And you people, yeah, I'm talking about you people on the left who claim to be Democrats, who claim to love Americans, and realize that they are using you. Get away from the Democratic Party. Become a centrist. Become a libertarian. I used to be a libertarian. They're great people. They're a little crazy, but they're great people. You don't have to become a Republican. Be an independent, but get away from the Democratic Party. It is a cesspool of disgusting individuals who want to kill babies, take money from everybody else, and put illegals first. God, I hope we save this country. Mouthy, signing off.